The Prime Minister has promised to visit Alice Springs, where the community is struggling with rising crime and social dysfunction. Indigenous groups marking National Closing the Gap Day say Julia Gillard should visit Central Australia with the opposition leader Tony Abbott in a show of bipartisanship.
The Prime Minister Julia Gillard says she is planning a trip to Alice Springs but won't reveal when. The opposition leader Tony Abbott wants Miss Gillard to visit the town with him. She has ruled that out but says her Indigenous Affairs Minister is committed to bipartisan talks.
It's very important to have a bipartisan approach in the whole area of Indigenous affairs. It is too important for it to get caught up in politics.
The Prime Minister's decision may disappoint some Indigenous leaders.
I think it's really useful if both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition go out there together to give some prominence to the issues that we're confronting out at Alice Springs.
Mr Gooda says the dysfunction in Alice Springs is a microcosm of the wider problems in Aboriginal affairs caused by urban drift from remote communities.
And I've called in the past to start thinking about what we need to do with town camps going into the future.
Mr Gooda says the estimated 60,000 people who attended Closing the Gap Day events around Australia show it's a matter of national importance. He says the government's $5 billion investment in closing the average 10-year life expectancy gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people is a good start, but falls short of what's needed for health, housing and employment.
Is at the forefront of government thinking in policy making and in making available resources. So that's a very significant development.
The federal opposition says there's not enough evidence that the gap is being closed.
We've got no interim targets. There's no way of telling whether we're closing the gap until 2030.
The government says it has made headway and it's confident of closing the gap by 2030. Phoebe, Stewart, ABC News, Darwin.